Welcome to Fright Night Radio. Tonight we're going to be talking The Crow with Brandon Lee in his final performance, in his greatest performance of all time. And tonight, all right, with tonight we have our usual co-hosts. We have Zach.
What's up?
And Rodney the Wolfman Taylor.
Hello, everybody.
All right. We're going to go ahead and talk The Crow. And we'll go ahead and do that real quick. Let's see. Start off by saying that this film came out in 1994. Starring Brandon Lee in his final performance, and probably considered his greatest performance of his career.
It was the film that put him on the map.
Yeah, and it's a shame. And what's ironic is he died at about 35 minutes away from me. Is where he died.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow!
In Wilmington.
And
in fact, I saw where he died. I actually saw the building where he died.
That's
I think he was killed by a prop gun, if I remember right.
Yeah, what had happened was that they had filmed another scene featuring, fake bullets inside the gun. And what had happened was one of the bullets or a piece of the fake bullet got lodged in the barrel and no one knew it was there. So when they put in the fake, the blanks, the blank cartridges that emulate the gunfire, it propelled whatever had gotten stuck in the barrel into Brandon's chest. He was rushed to the hospital where they did a surgery, but he passed away at the hospital. Even more strange is that back in 1978, if you remember, Bruce Lee, his father, was working on a film called The Game of Death when he passed away at the age of 32. Now, the footage was released with new footage that was shot in 1978, and one of the scenes for the new footage was Bruce Lee playing an actor who gets who the mob tries to assassinate by shooting him in the face while he's making a movie.
Wow!
Talk about irony.
It's the Lee family curse. For some reason that family just was cursed. Or something.
Well, anyway,
and all that stuff. I think it was just a coincidence, nothing more.
Bad coincidence. Harkening back to The Crow, it's based off the comic book by James O'Barr, which in itself also had some tragic backstory. The Crow was written at a time after James O'Barr's fiance was killed by a drunk driver.
Oh, wow.
So The Crow in itself has, a lot of sadness surrounding it. And the TV series that was produced in 1998 also had a fatal accident. One of the stuntmen was killed on the television show.
Oh, wow.
So The Crow has a rather depressing backstory, but even though that's the case, it's still a very entertaining film.
Yeah.
Well, it was the only good film of all of them. We pretend that, the second one was, I don't know. I liked some of the elements of the second film, but it just, nothing beats the first film ever, period. You know what I mean?
Ernie Hudson was awesome in The Crow. He's playing police officer Albrecht. He was awesome. My favorite scene in The Crow, I'm not sure if it was shown in the clips that you saw, Ronnie, but the Crow goes into an apartment and stops a woman from taking heroin, and he causes the heroin to seep out of her veins, and you see it coming back out of her veins. That was the best scene in the movie, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, I seen that part, yeah.
Well, my favorite scene was when he's fighting Top Dollar on the top of the building with a sword fight.
Mm-hmm.
And he grabs the guy's face and says, "I'm giving you 48 hours of pain, all at once, all for you." And he throws him off the building. And you see him screaming as he's flying off the building. And it's like, yes.
There's differences from the comic. I have the comic here. And the final fight doesn't take place in a church. Basically, a second gang shows up. I believe. Let me see. Let me pull. I have the comic here. Let me pull that up here. Let me see here. T-Bird is actually another gang member, not of the gang that attacked Eric and his girlfriend, but they're all shooting at Eric, and he, of course, is impervious, and then he chases T-Bird out into the woods and claws him to death with the butt end of a hammer.
Oh, wow.
What a great movie. I mean, that would, and you know, they're remaking The Crow with Jason Momoa of Aquaman.
Oh, wow. That's going to be good.
Now, but they're supposed to go more with the actual comic. So,
yeah, I know James O'Barr is working on the script, so I will be looking out for that one.
I don't know what to think. I mean, I feel like it's going to kind of tank. I hope it doesn't. I feel like it's kind of going into the Brandon Lee legacy, though. You know, The Crow was Brandon's film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
so, I guess
I don't think they'll take away from his legacy. If
I remember correctly, I think James said I wanted to be as respectful to Brandon as I could be.
Yeah.
Because if any of you have read the comic, in the comic at the very beginning it says in memoriam Brandon Lee, you will be missed.
Yeah.
Granted, the comic was written in 81 and or written over the span of 10 years, I should say. So that wasn't there to begin with, but when they were making the film, James O'Barr became friends with Brandon Lee, and after the accident, he became friends with Brandon's ex-fiance. And they both helped each other through it.
It was originally the Crow sequels actually was supposed to have featured Brandon Lee's sister, Shannon Lee.
Interestingly enough, there were numerous Crow sequel comics, and the second one has a female Crow in it. And in that one, she has to stop the villains before she rots because she can't regenerate her cells. So she's like, when she gets cut, she sticks staples into her side to keep from falling apart and stuff like that.
Ooh, ouch.
Well, did you know there was some deleted scenes, but the main deleted scene that was in the movie was the skeleton cowboy. I mean, that was left out, where actually he was in a couple scenes in different parts of the movie where he was supposed to only get the people that were connected to him and his girlfriend's death. That was it.
Yeah. And continue.
And the thing is, he was supposed, after he defeated the last guy at Fun Boy out the window, or not Fun Boy, what was the other one? The Skank. Skank. They threw Skank out the window. That was it. You know what I mean? That was the final guy. But they ended up cutting that because they wanted to make Top Dog the final guy, you know, instead of having the skeleton tell him that was it. You know what I mean? Because originally...
Speaking of the skeleton, he was to be played by Michael Berryman of The Hills Have Eyes fame, Jupiter.
Oh, that would have been. Was he? Yeah, that would have been great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also speaking of people who are in The Crow, who were originally from other movies, you know the guy from The Warriors? Warriors come out to play. He's in The Crow.
Yeah.
In fact, he's a character who gets killed by being driven off of a pier in a car. And
I like that part where he goes, he lights him up with gasoline, and then he's driving off, and he's kind of waving at him as he's
waving at him, and he's doing the exact same hand motion. The Warriors, because if you in the Warriors, the guy's got Coke bottles on his fingers, but Brandon Lee does sort of like an homage to that.
That's pretty funny. I mean, it was great. You know what I mean?
Another rather interesting tidbit pertaining to the sadness that's connected with The Crow. After Brandon's death, they obviously continued the film. They were going to use a rubber mask or a face mask that they had made for stuntmen, but they were like, you know what, we can't use this mold of Brandon's face. Destroy it. So we're too connected to this, and we're too connected to Brandon. We don't want to do this. So send it off to someone who does CGI, and CGI Brandon's face onto the doubles so that we can finish this film.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
the only thing was CGI was not around at that point.
No, CGI was. It was because CGI goes all the way back to Tron in 1982, and there's even some CGI in The Wrath of Khan. So they did use some maybe early primitive CGI to
It
put.
just wasn't as big as it is now.
The rumor was that I had heard was that Johnny Depp had stepped in to play the scenes that were the
Don't
scene.
know about that one.
But that was just what I had heard. I don't know. But then I heard somebody else ended up stepping in and finishing it. I mean, just some.
I know they had doubles, but who the doubles were, I'm not sure. All I know is that there's whenever you don't see Eric's face, that's a double. And there was one bit where some lightning strikes across his face, and that was a CGI face for Brandon.
Well, there is one scene in the movie that I really liked is when the cop tells him to not move, and he says, and I move, and I say, I'm trying to remember what it was. He goes, he says a line. He goes, and I'm going to move, or something like. Let me look it up real quick. He tells him not to move, and then he ends up moving anyways. And I say, I move, or something like that. Let me look it up real quick because I hate when I get stuck with a line and I don't know what the fuck it is. You know, I hate when that happens. But he says some kind of twisted line where he basically wants him to shoot him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm looking at here. So this is from the comic. I don't know if it's the same in the film. I will not hurt you, but I am leaving. So shoot if you will. So shoot if you will. He bows down and he points the gun right at his head. It's probably not the same as in probably not the same as in the film. One interesting tidbit that they didn't incorporate into the film was that apparently the crow becomes blind in one eye after he gets shot in the head. Because if you look in the comic, his left eye is lighter than his right eye.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because in the comic, the bullet goes through his forehead and cuts under his eye and over to the bridge of his nose.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the whole movie in general is perfection. Period. There is.
I like the. I don't know if color tinting was done back then, but the film has a very purple feel, in my opinion. Yeah. And but it kind of is like it's kind of like a subdued purple, you know, kind of like how movies today will tint an entire scene gray. I don't know if they did that back then, but the film kind of has a purple feel about it.
Yeah.
How long have we been talking?
Well, yeah, we need to go ahead and do the rating real quick because we're about out of time anyways. But let me get the thing set up here so when we do that, we'll be ready to rock and roll. Hold on just a second here. Yeah, the movie though in general is a really good movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, Ronnie, from the scenes that you saw, what would you give it?
I'm gonna give it a 9.
I'm gonna give it a 10.
I'm gonna give it a 10 as well. Again, the movie was Siskel and Ebert gave it a pretty bad review, but I loved the movie.
Siskel and Ebert, yeah, those two are not good at ratings.
You can't always go by the critics because I mean. God's Not Dead has a 43% rotten approval rating for critics, but 73% great for the audience. So,
well, look at Justice League. Justice League has an 80, but it got a terrible review from the critics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
You got, but then Star Wars: The Last Jedi ended up getting a 50 from audience scores, but a 90 something from critics. So it's like the critics were basically trying to hype it up, and the movie was a disaster. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So I gave it a 10. Josh, you gave it a 10, and Ron, you gave it a 9.
Well, guys, I guess this is going to be the end of this episode. Next week, we're going to be talking about a really awesome new type of film. It's not new, but it's new to a lot of
people. I might not have heard about, but it's interesting regardless.
And go ahead and tell them the title of what we're going to talk about next week.
Criminally Insane, a.k.a. Crazy Fat Ethel.
Oh, wow. Crazy Fat
Ethel. For this one. All right, guys. Until next time, we'll see you on the High Zone.
Hey.
today. No conversation. Time to take her home with Daisy. Yeah, let's go to space. Time way too long, way too long.